So first of all, I want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Spangler. I'm the Flooring Division Manager here at Wagner Meters. I am responsible for not only the Rapid RH and the concrete side of stuff, but I'm also responsible for our line of wood meters that are utilized for woodworking and wood flooring applications. Again, I want to thank you for being here. I know that you have a lot of other things that you could be doing, a lot of great information, a lot of good feedback that we've had about this webinar, and we definitely appreciate you taking your time. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please type them in and send them to me. I'll get to as many of them as possible. If for whatever reason I'm not able to get to yours, or if for some reason it is a very vague question or subject matter that might get too in depth, definitely make sure that you call me directly or give me your contact information so that I can call you and I can circle back around at the end of this. My direct contact information, if after we're all done here you have additional questions, is 800-634-9961, and it's extension 235. So without that, we'll get on with the first question that I have here that came from Kim. What are the typical RH targets from manufacturers of floor coverings, recognizing the different products will have different targets? It's a great question, Kim. Basically, when you start looking at the different flooring products, you look at the different breathability or the different perm ratings that are associated with the different products. The other side is you look at how many of them are or what kind of moisture sensitivity they have. So a very general rule of thumb, if you look at NWFA guidelines, the National Wood Flooring Association, they're going to recommend that you get 75% or less relative humidity in a slab before you install a direct glue down floor. You can go from there up to roughly 90% on some of the VCT or vinyl composition tiles that are out there. Again, depending on the breathability, sheet vinyls and rubbers, you're typically in the 80 to 85%. Some of the sports floors and the terrazzos, you're looking at the 80 to 85%, but anywhere from 75 to 90% is typically what I see out there. One thing that we have available on the market that if you want to look at a specific manufacturer is we have a smart device application called RH Spec. So it's RHSPEC. And what it is, it allows you to put in either finished floor products, adhesives, remediation products, or other types of products. And then it just drop down menus, manufacturer, and then specific products. And then it links directly back to the manufacturer for their guidelines for that specific product or product class. So it definitely is an app that's been around for a few years that people have found to be very useful because sometimes that information tends to be hard to find. Looks like John. Well, John, good to see you. John's got a question. Do you have RH values for your tests of the concrete over pans to determine consistency and accuracy of the RH? Actually, not of ours, and as far as I know, nobody does. But what I will tell you is that the ASTM committee has done some testing with all of the different manufacturers' products, and they've done the testing in pan decking to attempt to come up with to see if there's a rationale to having an effective thickness calculation, one, so that instead of having to identify deep spots and shallow spots, you can actually come up with a calculation so you can drill anywhere on the floor. So when you look at that, what we'll recommend, because the ASTM committee is completely silent on this situation, what we recommend as a company is that you drill to that you identify the deepest section, and you can do that fairly easily with we have metal detectors that you can find here in the States that you can find, or you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's, typically under $100. They work a lot like a wood stud finder. The one that I have is a Bosch manufacturer, And what you can do is you can put them on the concrete, and the scan will be good enough that it will identify the high section of or the shallow part of the metal, but it's not so strong that it identifies the thicker part. So what you can do is you can scan across the floor, identify the high spot, scan across, identify the high spot, and basically mark those two off just like you would a wooden stud, and then drill in the middle because that's where the deepest part's going to be. Hopefully the information they came up with when they did the testing to look at exactly what you asked here, hopefully they'll get some good information out of that, and we'll be able to make some more, let's say, tangible recommendations based on what the ASTM standard says. Next question. Is the test used for gypsum-based concrete? So, first of all, the ASTM standard does not specifically call out gypsum. But second thing is, I have a lot of people out there that do use it on gypsum because, again, at the end of the day, the sensor is a relative humidity sensor, and it will test the relative humidity in any kind of material for pretty much that you want to. I say that people use it in gypsum. They'll use it if the gypsum manufacturer recommends it. And if you look at some of the bigger gypsum manufacturers, such as Maxon, they do recommend it. So I would always go back to one, there are definitely minimum thickness requirements. I'll typically tell people that you're going to be hard pressed if you don't have at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches of gypsum cover to be able to make it work. The other side of it is you need to make sure that the gypsum manufacturer does recommend or recognize relative humidity testing, because the standard itself does not specifically call out gypsum. Looks like we have another question from Paul. What are your thoughts on Bostik Green Force adhesive claiming no moisture testing is necessary as long as the floor is dry to the touch? I'm not going to get into specific comments, but what I'll say is that, you know, there's a reason why the industry does recommend moisture testing. And I hadn't specifically seen Bostik's Green Force adhesive claiming of, you know, dry to the touch, but I always would put back to the fact of what very specifically I need to have absolutes. What is dry to the touch? What's the definition of dry to the touch? But I always go back to the industry has a situation where adhesive finished floor products, they all recommend doing moisture testing. And at the end of the day, there's a reason for that. If there was a silver bullet that worked in every application, I think that it would be on the market, and whoever that company was that had it, you know, especially if it was cost effective, it would be something that, you know, everybody would be using. Now, there are a lot of very, very good products, and I'm not saying this isn't one of them. But when we sit there and we go against the industry in certain aspects like this, sometimes I just kind of question, you know, not how good the product is, but when I look at it, I just kind of question, you know, certain applications of it. Another question, can you explain the new technology you have to make life easier for contractors, the Bluetooth readers, the mapping, pictures, location, etc.? So basically what we have out in the marketplace, that's a great question. What we have out in the marketplace is we just launched the Bluetooth readers, and the Bluetooth readers work in conjunction with two different applications. One of them is a free application that will allow you to visually see the readings from a sensor. And when you use that Bluetooth reader, you'll actually put it into the sensor that's embedded in the concrete. It'll transfer the information wirelessly or via Bluetooth to a smart device. It'll display serial number, relative humidity, temperature of the sensor in the concrete. It also, because the Bluetooth reader has a onboard sensor, it will allow you to capture the ambient relative humidity and temperature. Also gives you serial number. Now, the thing about that free app is that that's a one-time reading. When it reads that sensor, if you go read another sensor, all of the original information disappears. But A lot of people like it because it gives more information, so at least they can take that information and write it down. Makes it much bigger. The other thing it does is it actually displays in tenths. So when you are looking at some of these different moisture remediation products or vapor barriers that are applied topically, some of them do require that you have, to the tenths. They will, for instance, they will warranty up to 99% relative humidity, but anything above that, they won't warranty. So you need to actually have something like this Bluetooth reader that will display to the tenths. The step up in the app that a lot of people have seen and liked, we came out in 2013 with a device called the Data Master, and it was a handheld device with a Bluetooth reader. Conceptually, everybody loved it, but when it comes down to it, it didn't meet users' expectations from the standpoint that, the touchscreen wasn't quite as functional as people would have liked it, and things like that. So what we did when we had the ability was we transitioned that entire concept over into a smart device app. Right now, it's currently available in the iOS system, with the Android coming shortly. But in essence, what it does is it takes it a step further, and it allows you to designate a job, manually enter a job name, allows you to take pictures of a floor where you're installing sensors so that you have the ability to have some kind of visual representation of a sensor being installed, actually being installed on the job. You can then take the reading of that sensor that's in the concrete. It'll transmit the information to the smart device, and it allows you to gather all of that information, and you can actually generate from your smart device either a report that can be emailed or a report that can be wirelessly printed, whichever one you prefer. Now, the whole nice thing about it is that the PDF is a secure PDF, so there is no ability for people to say, manipulate the numbers, because in the flooring world, you hear people talk sometimes that, the floor covering guys might cook the books a little bit so that they can get a change order for remediation or doing things like that. And this really takes that whole entire question out of it, because the information is transmitted from the concrete to the smart device and printed off, and there's no ability for anybody to manipulate. So from a data security standpoint, it allows you to be able to have that data security, but it also allows you to be able to take the raw data and tie it into pictures that you've taken on the job. So definitely is something that we launched that, or the app was actually out at World of Concrete in February, and a lot of very, very positive feedback from it. Does the Rapid RH Easy Reader need to be calibrated periodically? The Rapid RH Easy Reader is what I call the stupid part of the entire system. All it is a display. You put it down in the sensor, which is the part that if it ever comes to a calibration issue, the sensor is the part that would need to be calibrated if you were reusing it. But with the Rapid RH 4.0, you're only using it that one time in the concrete, so it alleviates the need to have to do any kind of recalibration or calibration verifications. Put the Easy Reader in there, it basically says, hey, sensor in the concrete, wake up, displays the number that it tells it to display, and that's it. So if it's displaying a number, it is displaying an accurate number. There's nothing in that reader that can become uncalibrated. Okay, looks like that's all the questions that I have for this time. Again, my name is Jason Spangler. My phone number is 800-634-9961, extension 235. And if you come up with any other questions or need any other help, please don't hesitate to call us. That's what we're here for. With that, have a great day, and thanks for your time.